It's a really interesting name. What nationality is that?
Persian. Is it
Persian?
right?
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Anyway, he's giving me a nice drive home, hopefully safely.
Hopefully.
And yeah, we're not sure yet because we're only starting the trip.
Yeah, who knows, right?
Anyway, so it turns out he's got this YouTube channel, and I'm gonna be saying my little piece here. But I have a YouTube channel too, but it's story hour sort of bullshit. I'm trying to sell my story ideas because I fancy myself a storyteller.
Okay.
And so the story is about.
So you tell stories on this channel? Like...
No, basically I write out stories, and I try to pitch them to get made into a movie or short series. So I said, screw it, nobody's gonna make it, so I'm doing it myself. So it's an online series. Find it anywhere. Cliff's Edge, and it depicts a story about a little girl who's trying to unite with her father, but she's doing that through a machine that can send messages back in time. When she was a little girl, her dad had this machine. He worked for the telecommunications industry, and he receives this message from somebody in the future telling him about his daughter that's going to be wreaking havoc in the globe in the future. Well, into the future, like a good 60, 70 years in the future. And it says that she's going to become the president of, or Prime Minister of Canada, and that she has to be stopped. And they've been trying to stop her for several years, and now they're going way back as far as they can to stop her from even sending the message. And why she sent the first message, we don't know. But anyway, the father believes it's his invention. The story that he's getting back makes sense. And he feels compelled to do something about it. So he confronts her and starts arguing with her why she sent the message. She has no idea what he's talking about. She resists him. There's a fight, ensues. And then all of a sudden, he ends up dead with a heart attack due to the drama.
Okay.
Anyway, it turns out when he died, she felt really guilty by his death, and so she remembers his machine, so she sends the message to herself in the past, hoping to prevent the whole situation from going down. But that is the very first message that she sent that, through a series of events, has caused something going down in the future. Flash forward to the present. She's now working as a court-appointed psychiatrist. Or, yeah, I guess they call it a psychiatrist, right?
Yeah.
What do you know? Are you working in the courts?
No.
Okay, all right. Just, I don't know, I'd have to ask. Do I have to ask? No. Anyway, the story is she's doing that, and all of a sudden there's a horrific event that occurs. Some guy has just blown up a school bus full of kids. And it's particularly interesting to her because it's in her old neighborhood where she lived when she was a little girl, and she finds it all tragic and shocking that all these 14 kids were blown up in this bus. They find the guy who did it very quickly, and he's brought into the court for his arraignment, and he tells the court that he's here, and he was told to blow up the bus because he understands that there's a little girl on the bus by the name of Candace, which is her name, and he has to kill her before he sends a message. And she's pretty shocked when she hears the news about what he's claiming. And then, in fact, because she's the most astute in her field, and because he's talking about these messages from the future, it sounds crazy. They think he's nuts. All these kids are killed. So they require her to do the evaluation of his competency to stand trial. But as that moment on the docket is fast approaching, where she has to be going into this private meeting with this crazy guy to find out whether he's really sane to stand trial or not, she goes and sits with him, and he explains that he got a message from people in the future who are living under the occupation of China, who has taken over the continent because a woman by the name of Candace Owens, at some point, well, I'm going to change the name because I can't use that name, because you know who she is, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm pinning that character after her. Anyway, this Candace woman, who's a court-appointed psychiatrist, can't believe what she's hearing because it's her story. And she can't believe that she recalls sending the message, but it wasn't about anything he's talking about. But little does she understand that a series of events have occurred, that people have been going back and forth trying to prevent her, and this is the first time it's gotten back to her in real time. And apparently these people have been attempting to get her for a very long time, and they have been unsuccessful, and they sent him these messages. But the reality is that they sent the messages, they screwed it up, and they sent the messages at the wrong date. So they believe that she was 10 years old at the time that he received the messages, but she's now 32, and she's a court-appointed psychiatrist.
Right.
And she wants to find out who is sending the message. But he doesn't know who sent the messages. He just bought into the messages, and he sent the messages to this forensic guy by the name of Paul, who's actually received the messages and indicated to him, which was the convincing part, that they looked over the data and the metadata on the message, and it seemed that it was recorded 100 years ago by when they used a magnetic strip for vibrations to make the sound. And that's made it so peculiar. It seems like the program that put these metadata together was far beyond the advancement of what they understood. So that's what convinced him that they were real. And so he went off and he did this act of violence propelled by these messages that he received that she wanted to find out. At the end of it, she doesn't find out who sent the messages, but she told the court that he was more than competent to stand trial, where he would eventually be found guilty and face the death penalty. And then just as she does that and he is sentenced to his death, she returns home and there's a phone call. And the phone call is asking her what her name is. And she says her name. And then he goes, "Are you the one that's running for prime minister?" So clearly another assassin has been sent back. And that's how the story goes. But the whole purpose of her sending the message was simply to prevent her father's death and be reunited with him. But it turned out, playing with time, as you know, everything gets fucked up. It's a shit show. So, honestly, how does that grab you? I know my pitch sucked, but the storylines,
I don't know, man. I generally don't like to fuck with like time travel and whatnot because it leads to shit shows that become very unexplainable.
Well, it is very unexplainable. That's why I don't say anything about how the machine works or anything. I just talk about how it's a series of events that lined up. But I
just watched like the one Spider-Man where they're like they get all the different. The Tobey Maguire comes in.
That's the worst time thing ever.
I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
And no, of course it doesn't. But that's the worst thing. You're comparing me to that?
No, but still, like that was just the first thing that came to my head because I watched it literally like 2 days ago, right? And I'm just like, you know, I don't like to get into this whole headspace of like, you know, fucking with time because like you just get too many unanswered questions, you know?
Yeah, I thought maybe the theme of it about the daughter who's hoping to reunite with her father would come through a little bit, and the extent that she'd be willing to go to be able to do that, which should be bedtime, put the whole country at risk. But
I guess, but that's like Superman, right? Like, didn't he do that?
Okay, what about this one? Today's world, yeah, this is my premise, right?
Okay.
The Facebook offers up what they're kind of committing fraud in the sense they offer it up this Times Square where you can meet up with your neighbors and community and family members that you don't see and communicate. And in fact, community members can meet up with each other online and so to come to a resolution to a common problem that they're experiencing. And everything is fine and good. But the one caveat to this story in the real world is that it doesn't work like that. It's not a Times public square where people can meet up and find resolution or do common things and associate with each other freely, because there's an unknown third person that's manipulating both parties in order to make sure that whatever they do something that would most benefit that third person, which is unknown to them, which they don't know. So in order to tell that story, I figured out I'd have this setting where it's a mom and pop factory where they make boots, but I don't think I'm going to use boots because, you know, sexy boots story's been done. But the story is that the husband that runs the factory has a wife, and he cheats with all the women in the factory. Okay. So he's having this affair. The only person that doesn't know about the affairs is his wife. Everybody else does. Okay. And what he has this sick sense of humor, this thing that he does to seduce these women, is he buys all his affairs these pearl earrings. So my story starts with his wife discovering a random pearl earring in the bed. She doesn't own pearl earrings, and she's very curious to where this pearl earring came from and find out whether or not her husband is really having an affair. So she starts quietly and very slowly inquiring about these pearl earrings with all the girls that work in the factory. But little does she know that everybody has these pearl earrings, and everybody she talks to thinks that pearl earring is theirs. So they don't say anything. They're very obscure, and they're gonna, you know, let her astray. They tell her lies, blah blah blah.
Right.
So she's on this wild goose chase to find something that she's never going to find because everybody thinks, and nobody's saying anything to anybody else because they don't want to get in trouble, and nobody else realizes that the guy has given earrings to everybody. So as she goes around and talks to these women, they all react in the sense of they're almost being found out and they're feeling guilty. So they lie to her, and the more the lies that she's getting, the more extreme the lies are, the more extreme and the more far-fetched she's got to run around to sort of search out the answers to what's going on with her husband.
So where does this lead to? How does this?
Well,
all
it leads
resolve?
to a very disgruntled and very frustrated and very anxiety-driven woman, where she freaks out. She ends up killing everybody in the house. She burns it down. Because just like in the real world, nobody's ever getting fully gratified. Nobody's ever getting the full truth.
So she just goes ham on everyone. Then?
Well, I think that would be the best course of action to take, right? Unless she finds out about the husband lying. But I don't want the husband to face any compromise or any punishment for that, because it's like he represents to me like the Facebookers, the social networking sites that are manipulating and selling everybody's info.
So what's the moral of the story?
Well, the moral of the story is like, don't believe anything. Like what the social networking sites aren't what they claim to be. They're liars. They're not offering you a forum of free association, because what's happening is you're using it and there's an unknown third party that has your information and is monitoring your behavior, and it's to their benefit to manipulate your decision making in order that you decide on doing something that will most benefit them, not the two people that are finding a solution. That's how everything works, right? In a way, I mean, to some extreme or another. But I'm not selling you anything. You're not buying a ticket on my shows anywhere anytime soon, are you?
No. Right? There's no show, right?
Well, it is an idea, yes. It's no show. Thank you very much for
but like you said, you're like a storyteller, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I got thousands of those things. But for some reason, because of my own personal story, I wanted to pick this story about this daughter in search of her father. I don't know why. But I understand. I don't know how I'm going to, like, what would be an extreme situation where somebody would want to go over the top than of a situation that's commonplace, where somebody would want to be family reunification. Am I saying that right?
Reunified with their family?
Yeah.
Reunited?
Well, reunited, find love, find acceptance, what everybody wants, everybody wants that.
So you're just looking for something that would trigger a sense of, unity? That's what you're looking for?
I'm just like
extreme event?
Well, I'm just trying to tell a story that's been told 1,000 times in a manner that's not been told in that way before. I mean, I'm taking a total familiar story, but I'm putting it in a very extreme setting.
Right.
We're trying to. Clearly, I'm not doing a very good job.
Well, I don't know. Like, it's just like...
Well, do I have my...
Like... I'm not Quentin Tarantino, right? If I was,
well, I hope to be one day, and you would be very happy to have said, "Oh wow, I had that guy in my cab, and I told him his movie's ideas sucked."
Yeah, but I don't have the best even vision of how a
well,
story
you
can
obviously
play out.
are creative.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing, right? I'm using other people's ideas, and I'm just like,
so you're
showing it.
You're kind of like plagiarism kind of thing.
Sure, you can call it that. Yeah,
I don't think that's.
I don't think I'm really plagiarizing, considering this is like. This doesn't exist anywhere else, Well,
I think it's a great idea, And you're gonna have to let me know what the channel's name is so I can go check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't know if this is still recorded, but please edit down and make me look good, please.